give it a minute, maybe?
Yeah, well, maybe we'll give it 1 minute. No? Start?
Okay. Should we just mention that we can't not say that we're just waiting for her to connect, or?
Okay, we'll connect. I'm going to go.
Do you have his mobile number? Somebody should call him up.
Yeah, I'm live. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first edition of Nextv Series MENA, which will feature one-on-one discussion and panel sessions as well. The event also provides live networking session on our platform Swapcard for all speakers, sponsors, and attendees. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our sponsors, speakers, and moderators for their participation. I'll now give you a brief overview of today's session. So we will kickstart this morning with the digital transformation of FTA broadcasting in MENA. And then there will be a one-on-one session with Intelsat, which will be the delivering of innovative experience to the customers of the future. Followed with mobile going into content distribution. Smart Lab will do a one-on-one presentation with basically talking about the Android migration. And then there will be another session with a future of video distribution in the media industry across MENA. The content needs for MENA will be our next panel discussion, followed by MENA TV market. What are the current growth opportunities in the region? And also we will conclude the day with addressing piracy in MENA and the OTT platform in MENA. So to start this first edition, I have the pleasure to welcome Mr. Nasser Rifat, CTO at Rotana Group, Kamal Wise, Strategic Business Development Director and General Manager at Spacetoon TV and Spacetoon Go, Sarah Al-Jaman, the Director of General Channels at Dubai Media Incorporated. And this panel will be moderated by Mona Ibellini, journalist and presenter. So Mona, the screen is all yours. Sarah is here, so all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Shanna. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Thank you to our wonderful guest speakers on this wonderful initiative, first ever series of Nextv Series here in the MENA region. I believe our last guest, Sarah Al-Jarman, is with us now. Right, we may give it another minute or so, just facing a little technical issue with Sarah joining us. But in the meantime, let's kickstart this very fascinating panel discussion, which, as you all know, is under the title of Digital Transformation of FTA Broadcasting in the MENA region. We'd like to start with talking about how to build a competitive OTT offer. I would like to start with Dr. Nasser, if I may. Dr. Nasser, can we start with what is the difference between the audience for linear TV and for OTT, and how does one adapt, please?
Sure. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm CTO of Rotana, having 35 years or more experience in the media sector as a executive consultant, as well as made lots of projects globally. Now, going into the assets, which is the difference between the OTT and linear. Now, linear is linear channels. It's all sequential like TV channels, but it has, if we're gonna go to digital domain, then you can introduce to it a BVOD possibly, but which means catch up. But if you go in an OTT side drives so many elements to the linear stream or additional to whatever we call it a linear stream, which is the SVOD, the BVOD, the iVOD, and so many of VOD's formats. This is in brief nutshell, the difference between OTT and linear.
And how does one adapt?
Okay. In terms of if linear TV currently, as you've seen with the COVID, we have lost a little bit of revenues in terms of the ad sales. And for that, we had to look into other monetization means. But before that, in the Middle East or MENA, digital starts taking over not in terms of revenue. Of course, the ad sales revenue of TV is the highest and still the premier, which is the FTA and DTH. But in digital domain, it opened the window for us to go further and monetize and grab some market share of the digital market funds or revenue. Now, most like Rotana, we have two OTT platforms that we own. One is called Rotana.net, which is basically an AVOD plus a linear channel. So this is globally, goes around the globe. And we have another app, which is called Rotana Plus, Arabic TV in USA, which is basically an SVOD plus a linear exclusive channels. We have launched it in June. Now it's running in US and North America, Canada and Mexico. And soon we'll be going to South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and then eventually it's going to come to MENA. This is what happened with Rotana. So Rotana, we have two platforms in terms of OTT, and yet we are partners with many others who have OTT platforms, i.e. we are major partners with Netflix, with, of course, our partners here in Dubai, which Shahid, Watch It, all major OTTs we are partnered with. So it's a matter of how we formulate the formula in terms of what we put in digital domain, in terms of windowing, and what to keep for FTA, in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. Can I move on to Kamel, please? I'd like to also find out from you, which content strategy have you deployed within your OTT offer? For example, linear versus demand, on demand, in-house versus acquired, long form, short form, excuse me.
Yeah, so to begin with, like we started actually seeing the shift of like people watching, switching from TV to coming to digital through our YouTube channel, where we had like tremendous actually amount of subscribers reaching out of like around 5 million subscribers, crossing 2 billion views so far. So that happened like a few years before, like 2 years, we saw that trend is happening very fast. So we said like we need to be directly with launching our VOD platform. So we stayed working towards that, and we launched our own VOD platform actually before the pandemic hits, like 2-3 months before. And we were lucky and grateful to launch it at the right time actually. So when we started like shifting our content as well from being on TV and putting it on the VOD side, we saw like a lot of people that is like, they're really consuming the TV content, but they want to catch up directly the next and the third episodes, which is already being available on the VOD platform as well. Besides to that we like on TV, we always had the little bit restrictions in terms of like the amount of content that we could acquire. So almost you could only put like 30 to up to 40 new shows a year. But in VOD, like we had like as much as content you had, like we already had like our old library, our new library, and we still acquire new content for it. So it gave us more flexibility as the same time. And even like the type of format, like TV, again, like you only need to have like at least 26 episodes or 52 episodes. VOD gave us like, we could have a show for 13 episodes. It could be 7 minutes. It could be, I don't know, 30 minutes. So the consumer could adapt in anything in VOD, because like he could, fast forward the video, he could backwards and so on. So it gave us actually the flexibility to have a lot of type of genres as well into the VOD platform. Besides now, like we're also doing like some exclusivity for our content. So like put it in the VOD first before reaching on TV. At the same time, like having complete shows that is only for our VOD platforms. Besides like content production, so we already have been co-producing a lot of content on a global scale. But recently for our VOD, we're trying to focus as well on like partnering maybe with different other studios, that how we could also push more content, animation content into our platform. And recently we just signed, for example, with one of our biggest influencers in Saudi Arabia. It's a family channel actually, who consists of like 4 different kids and the father. So we animated actually the whole family and being like on OTT for the first time. So that kind of like, it's exciting future that we're seeing now. It's different genres, different type of formats you could build with the OTT, and you have a lot of different innovation you could add to it as well.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you
How
so
long
much.
does it take, you know, from point go until you execute something like this?
Sorry, again?
How long does it take in terms of a time frame from the word go and then in terms of executing such a project?
So if it's the VOD streaming services, took us like at least 2 years actually to build and like working towards that. But still, it's a process that we're building. So now it's mainly like we're educating our fans, our audiences, that we are now on digital and like come watch us. So our goal is actually how we could convert our audiences on TV becoming a member on Spacetoon Go, because there we have more connections with our audience and users. On TV, like we don't know like who are our users. Like we know, yes, this show could be successful. This is happening. They're speaking about us on social media, but we don't know like how many users, for example, is watching this particular show. But with VOD, like it gave us actually the access to do that. And like each country we know now, like for example, what is the best show and genre is working. So that gave us the flexibility as well, like to know what kind of content to acquire. And shall we buy the sequel 1, 2, 3, or shall we develop for this another sequels? So that gave us like a more confident in our content strategy as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Khaled. Moving on to Sarah Al-Jarman, Director of General Channels, Dubai Media Incorporated. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Can we also ask you about the difference between the audience for linear TV and for OTT, and how do you adapt as a corporation?
Okay, so we've developed an OTT platform which is called Awan, and it's been really in development from years now. Our primary focus was always television. We're a traditional TV incorporation, so we represent the government of Dubai. We've got six sister channels, and each channel is dedicated to a special target audience and specific strategy. Obviously, with the development of digital, we've expanded into OTT platforms. Awan now carries more than 3,000 hours of content. A lot of it is catch up, and we've got our channels streaming live on a global level. And there's a lot of partnerships with different entities that we've done on a global scale as well. So we've recently launched the BBC iPlayer, which carries more than 400 hours of exclusive BBC content for the Middle East audience. So what we're doing with our OTT platform is really going into partnerships with content creators, production houses, with studios and so forth, to bring in content that's relevant to the target audience, the Arab audience, and obviously our primary audience is the UAE and the Gulf. But as well, we try to expand globally as much as we can. The BBC was a good example to start with. We've also managed to create our own original short form content. So we've worked with social media influencers. And this is something we're adapting both on television and on digital. So a lot of the short form content of that show would go on digital, and the longer form would be on television. So we're creating more of an ecosystem where content goes really on both mediums, and we try to get as much audience on all the platforms as we can. So there's a nice harmony and synergy with our OTT and our channels, and we see what fits best where. We're still AVOD, we're not a subscription platform yet, but definitely the more we get into higher budget productions and longer form, we will be introducing subscription and tie-ups with different content creators for sure.
Fantastic. And what are the main challenges of going ATT for you, and how do you actually face these challenges?
I think with OTT, the major challenge is really, I would say, the specific measurement in terms of we get numbers with the algorithms, we get measures in terms of how many people are watching and so forth. But because traditional media has been there for so long, and we more or less know what's the reach, what's the scale of people who are watching, OTT is still, I would say, fresher or newer. We don't have as much reach or traffic as we do on traditional platforms. The investment on OTT is still minimal in comparison to traditional. So it's almost like you're creating another channel, and then the investment in capital should be equal to that of television. Revenue on OTT is not still similar to traditional media. Linear is still predominantly the commercially driven platform. So I think it's a little risk, or it's a calculated risk. How much do you spend on OTT, and how many people are watching, and is it worth it, as opposed to your actually core job, which your bread and butter, which is television. So it really is about a development, and I think studying it and taking it very prudently to see where you go.
Thank you, Sarah. Dr. Nasser, may I also ask you the same? What have been some of the main challenges for you going OTT, and how do you face these challenges, please?
Sure. There are multiple challenges that we faced, actually. If you talk about going OTT, digital and advertisements are moving very much into data-driven model. As Sarah has mentioned before, to measure the number of viewership on satellite, FTA or VTH, it's really hard. And there are like companies like Ipsos, etc., that they give a sample of like 1,000 only per country or region, which is not fair to really rate the TV channels. So accordingly, you base your advertising prices. And this is something that we've all been suffering from. Now, with the digital domain, OTT, as well as some other technologies has been introduced on satellite, such as HPPTV. This was started to be achievable in terms of having a data-driven model for advertisers. Now, we're going strongly into the OTT and digital domain, and we're trying to innovate, especially that as I said, I'm blessed that I work for Rotana, who holds the largest Arabic film library in the world, more or less. As well, we hold the largest audio clips, and we own most of A-class singers and on in the Middle East. So my job was much easier, and we started sensing the OTT revenue much more faster than others. And I was reading before something very interesting, that the OTT by 2028 globally is going to reach up to $240 billion. Versus today, what we have for FTA is $1 billion, which is divided by 1,000 plus Arabic speaking channels, out of which 60% of this revenue goes to 2 major TV networks. And the other 40% is divided between the other 1,000. So TV industry, in terms of monetization and revenue, it is suffering, except for the big 2, of course, and others, which is supported by governments or other organizations. And therefore, monetization is a big deal for everyone, and especially for not only for the big 2, but as well for the rest, because this is their window to go and capitalize on. Now, challenging one was in making a content ready for digital domain. So digitization, QC, having a CMS system, a DRM system, streamers, figuring out what's the best player, payment gateways, hybrid CDNs, cyber security system implemented. This was #1 challenge. This is if you're gonna go do your own, because 2 different things, whether you're gonna have your own OTT or you're gonna just go the social media and other OTT partners set. So now I'm gonna just highlight the challenges when you have your own OTT platform first. So this is the first one. is the platform. The second one is to have a reliable multi-format IP delivery mechanism with multi-formats and multi-bit rates, etc. So you have to figure out what is the best for you. Now, thirdly is how it comes to content, how you're gonna segment the content and place an ad insertion, whether it's SCARI 35 or inserts or HPPTV beds embedded. So you're gonna have to decide where you're gonna put it. So you're gonna have to go back to your content, to your library, and do the segmentation based on short form or long form. And within these two, you have to figure out where you're gonna put the ads, if it's gonna be ad supported, whether we're gonna talk about it more. Now, of course, the short forms goes for the social media as well, your OTT. And then a challenging thing as well to establish an international digital distribution, well-known and experienced sales and marketing staff. So FTA sales are quite different than digital sales and marketing. So to put a team together, experienced, that you go headhunt them and put them together, this was another challenge. It was for us. Another challenge was in terms of establishing a solid legal contract with worldwide OTT with various sales model. So that was as well going through the logistics, the legal element, what is there, what to put, what not to put. It was a big challenge as well. And then there was a creating digital program distribution strategy. So as you know, in terms of strategy of content owners, we go into theatricals, like all the movies put in theaters first, and then we go first run, and then there's second run, and then there's a catalog, classics, digital, and then there's airline and hotel. So within all these content, the one you own, you have to figure out which one goes where first and which platform first, so you can monetize the highest. Finally, and not least, is when we say creating a digital program distribution strategy, the strategy is as well, where you're gonna launch, when you're gonna start your soft, where you're gonna have your official launch, in which territory, in which area, which language, etc. And what to put there in terms of to promote initially. And then the highest challenge was to establish in-house a digital piracy monitoring team with relative back-end infrastructure, because you can't put your digital domain, you can't put your content on a digital domain without protecting it. As well, go and find out who is taking your content for free. So this is major to any content owner. Another thing which is final is, well, the challenging is how you convert when we step into digital domain, is how you convert your own, because we have our own marketing and sales agencies called RMS. It's been there for a long time. It's one of the best in the area. So it was the challenge is how we convert. It started a long time ago, convert RMS to a digital agency as well, from FTA, ad sales, as well, agency to a digital agency that can have a global reach. So these are basically the challenges for anyone who's starting his own OTT platform. And I think it goes for all my friends here as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nasser. I want to move on to Kamil. Yes, do you have any agreements with what Dr. Nasser has just expressed? Any differences, similarities with some of the challenges?
Of course, yeah, 100%. I mean, what Dr. Nasser said is like one of the main challenges is through the tech platform and the whole infrastructure that you want to build. Especially if you build it in-house, it's something that you want to figure everything from scratch, right? So, and having all kind of different outsourcing companies or consultants that to help you establish that kind of best tier, kind of platform, especially you're competing now with not only like traditional media, now it's a global market, it's coming actually to you. At the same time, like here in the region, we face the problems that we're all raised into like watching everything for free. So it's called FTA. So it's not like the US or Europe where it's a cable TV and you pay a subscription on a monthly basis. We're already giving the content already for free in the MENA region. So to build that kind of mindset again, and like to convince the people and the families, like you need now to pay to watch, actually, it's not an easy process. And it would take some time, a little bit actually to develop. thanks to a lot of other media that already transformed their businesses already to OTT. So it's kind of the industry is little by little adapting to that. The pandemic, of course, it helped shift and accelerate that process because everything, we were all in lockdown. So we used to buy from e-commerce, we used to buy, you know, kind of subscription and other services. So these kind of stuff is a little bit helping at the same time. Another challenge that we see is like the payment infrastructure by itself. So with the pandemic, it's also accelerating that, but still, it's like you have a lot of countries that you have a lot of users there, for example, like in North Africa, but still the digital monetization is so hard. Reaching the online payments, it's still hard a little bit there in that regions. So yeah, credit card penetration is too low in a lot of the 22 countries in the MENA region. So monetizing the whole like population, it's hard. It's kind of challenging. So here, like we're trying to build it. At the same time, the piracy, as Dr. Nasser said, it's a very big threat, of course, and that's because of like they're used to watch for free. So it gave them the passion, like, or not the passion, but like the forced like to go and look for the content online because they're gonna figure it out. Maybe it's on YouTube or other third-party content providers. We're working with YouTube and other companies actually to how we could, you know, block these kind of illegal channels. So you could also build the habit for the users actually to watch content through a legal platform. So yeah, that's again also additional to what Dr. Nasser.
Thank you, Kamel. Well, since we've already sort of tapped into the monetization part of things, how do you attract advertisers on digital, Kamel?
Yeah, so on digital, of course, it's way better in terms of like seeing the data. So like advertisers have more confidence with data at the end of the time. And that trend has been shifted like a few years back. I mean, you could see already the advertisers are like really trying to spend their budgets on digital through YouTube, Facebook, and other social media networks because they tell you that we're seeing the data. Where TV still, it's like, yes, it's a very viewership massive, but still you need a lot of budgets that you want to spend on TV to appear actually to have your spots on TV. But with the VOD, you have actually now the luxury to have any kind of advertisers. Maybe you have an advertiser who have, I don't know, like a $2,000 budget that you could bring him along, which you couldn't have him on TV. And he has the data, he knows the ROI, he could feel it more better. So once you show these kind of data to any advertisers, anyone will go nuts about it. And he wants to participate in that. And that's what we saw actually in our platform. Like we have like almost now 7 million downloads in our platform, and we have millions of active users on a monthly basis. So like when we try to approach several advertisers, actually as one of our beta launching for our advertising, premium advertisers. So like the CTR like was reaching from 2 up to 7% in click-through rate. So that's a huge number compared to social media. Why is that happening? Is because like you have premium users, you have like premium customers who really went and downloaded your app and watching premium content. Versus like social media, it's still UGC kind of content. It's not that the use that you're looking for. So here it's giving more actually appealing for data for advertisers to see and to try and to see the whole process compared to TV.
Great, thank you, Kamel. Dr. Nasser, what are your thoughts on that, and how do you, as part of Rotana, attract advertisers on digital platforms?
Sure. Well, let's take it one at a time. We got IPTV, BVOD. For linear TV, we had implemented a new technology. It's not really new, but now it's available in most of our channels, which is, we call it DAI, which is digital ad insertion, which is in terms replaces all FTA ads to digital ads based on user profile. So once our channels goes into our digital domain, which they are available with many OTT, like in your area, Etisalat, Integral, most of telcos or most of OTTs in the Middle East, they have our channels. And within our channels, we do have free-to-air channels, and we do have encrypted channels. We have more than like four encrypted channels so far, and they are growing. And we do have 2 versions of our satellites or our TV channels, SD as well as HD. Now, For the IPTV, I said, or for the linear, there's ad insertion, and there's something new that we start to monetize at, which is called the HPPTV, which goes on satellite. And we can do an ads overlay insert, and we can sense and know who is watching what and when. And this has eliminated the gap between the traditional monitoring to the actual. But so far, it's only for smart TV and smart set-top boxes, which are HPPTV enabled. Now, we do have, which we call it for the online, in terms of AVOD and SVOD and the OTT, we depends very much into analytical engines. And we have a research team out of which that they give us promptly who is the viewership of each content and who is watching preferences as well. We do listening to the social media to see what is the trend. And we offer in our OTT platform as a BDs free content. Free content starts with an AVOD, out of which, and we keep our prime content as an SVOD. So the viewers or subscribers, they go into watching normal films or drama or XYZ, and then if they want more, then they have to subscribe as a VIP service for both our platforms, which is the Rotana Plus TV, which is currently in US. The one we have in Rotana currently, which is Rotana.net, it's all AVOD, it's free. So within that, we take the clients or the viewers from viewing Rotana library, getting to know what's happening in the media from the news type, etc., and watching our channels as well. So our channels there, we monetize it through the DI, as I mentioned, as well the pre-roll, etc. And then hello?
Hello?
Feedback. Yeah. Anyway, there's a technical problem. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, because I feel
On my side,
yeah. Okay. Anyway, so so digital strategy in summary is divide two things: the Rotana Direct OTT platform and the partners. The partners, as I mentioned before, is the windowing part, out of which that we produce content. We have the choice, either we put it on FTA or we give it to a partner exclusive as a first window. And then we take the second window into our platform or others. And then moving there into the catalogs, whether we keep the catalogs in our platform or give it as well to others to complement as we are doing now. So it's available everywhere. But one more thing that we have introduced, because we are international. We're not only in the Middle East. We are Netflix, with all others, with Amazon Fire TV and Roku and everywhere. That we started introducing not all our content yet, but mostly are already subtitled with multi-language. And we're going into the dubbing part as well to have it internationally available to all users. So it's a continuous innovation, it's continuous development. It's and it's like there's no tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be something different. So you have to put in today everything you can do, and then wait for tomorrow and try to think what's going to happen tomorrow to deliver. And for tomorrow, we have an R&D department in terms of thinking forward where we are going in terms of digital industry. So we're thinking that we're going into the interactive element part. So we are developing interactive content now, but going to be monetized in two models: a linear model as well as interactive model. Linear model that it goes into selling exclusively, let's say the thread. So if you have, yeah, I hope that you understand what I'm saying. If you have like a movie or a drama, which consists of many scenes. So scene 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. 60 to 100 to 110. So you have of these, like a pyramid, 3 or 4 or 5. So each one of these are going exclusive, and then they go and they make as a mesh. It's like gaming. So you capture the interest of the viewer, make the viewer the director, the scriptwriter, and make him control of the content rather than we dictate a linear domain. So this is what is future, and this is what we're doing now. So that's about it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Nasser, for your insightful input there. Sarah, moving on to you, we also need your thoughts on how you attract advertisers on digital and how do you make people pay for content?
Okay, so as we all know, during the pandemic, there has been a challenge with the whole advertising scene. We work with the agencies in the MENA region. We have a representative agency who works with us, and we work as well one-on-one in-house. Digitally, it's a bit obviously more challenging than traditional media, although there's a big percentage of the advertisers' budget in the MENA region. It's almost 30% of their budgets has gone to digital, but a lot of it has gone to YouTube and Google and the big fours and the big fives. So, and as well with, I think, the whole dissemination of all these platforms in the region, there has been a little bit of surplus for us. So for us to come in and catch in a little bit of that pie, if you will, for our platform means that we have to provide something, we have to provide content that is very original and that is on high demand. As we are still on a catch-up and live streaming and you know, a very minimal local and original productions, we started to see a little bit of, if you say, encouragement from the advertisers seem to come and be with us on board. A lot of it is done in tie-up or in partnership with the traditional mediums. So at this point, what we're trying to introduce is really bring in a lot of the social media influencers. And we've noticed that there has been a big shift in the advertising scene where a lot of these budgets have been diversified and have been really diverted to these media influencers. So we bring them on board and we create content with them that's relevant digitally. So we've got shows lined up for the coming season where we've done a lot of brand integration. So we've introduced the specific social media influencers, his affiliation to specific brands. We bring in the influencer and the brand, and we create a story around it. So we're being creative with how you can monetize on a digital platform and still keep it relevant and fresh. For obviously, as we discussed, the audience has a very small attention span on digital. And for us to be able to grab them and keep them for a longer period of time, you need to provide content that's snappy, that's quick, that's fast, and really gets to the point. They don't want content that keeps dragging and takes a long time. They're not watching a movie. So we've been creative on that aspect, and we're working with a lot of social media influencers in the Arab region and YouTubers that can work properly for Awan. So this is one route that we're trying to grab or monetize really our OTT platform. And then the other one is the partnerships that we've done with exclusive content. So once we have that specific content, it's on high demand on the platform. It's not available anywhere else in the MENA region. We do tie-ups as well with content that we create for television. For example, on format shows, reality shows, we do specific content while we're in production, and there's brand integration and product placement. We sit with the digital advertising team and we create specific content for the same show, but it would be a shorter form version, a little bit of BTS, and we put it online with advertisers for that. So you have to be really creative with your content and how you're going to position it for a digital platform. And hopefully we'll be getting more into SVOD once there's more investment into the production scales. We definitely will be getting into SVOD to enhance that and develop that monetization route on digital.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sarah. So I believe we only have a few moments left. Shana, are we going to leave the last few minutes to have a Q&A with our distinguished speakers? Right, let's just, I think, have we, no questions so far? Okay, in that case, let's maybe try and wrap this up with, we have 5 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, so perhaps we can just conclude this very interesting panel discussion. Growth drivers and roadmap for FTA in the MENA. Can we please sum this up individually, starting with Dr. Nasser, please?
Well, FTA is going to grow, still going to grow. Distribution model will varies, depends on technologies. They're going to be a merger between the FTA and digital DTH as well DDT in terms of pricing. So FTA is here. FTA is going to stay because still as presents the highest revenue in terms of ad sales prices. So it's still going to continue, but it depends which FTA. So this is in terms of MENA. It's going mainly now from SD domain to HD. It's moving very strongly there. Of course, Ultra still very down the roadmap, not yet. So investing in FTA is going to continue. Satellite is there. So yeah. And as I mentioned, FTA, there's more than 1,000 Arabic-speaking TV channels now, and all based on FTA model and cable, but satellite-based. So I don't see the number is going down, except that some of the channels will be closing down because of the economy. I see mergers will happen when it comes to content owners. So like TV channels, small TV channels which don't own content, they will not have such value if they are FTA only. They have to go into the content production, they have their own so they can raise the value. FTA value will rise as well if they have a digital presence with subs, because if you have per se a 1 million sub in your platform, that will give you a value, market value of, you multiply by 100 to between 100 to 30 to 100. So if you have 1 million, so you'd be worth 100 million. If you have from 100 million to 30 million, this will add to your value as an org who has an FTA and digital. So MENA is strong. MENA is going to continue. And because as well, we are a little bit lagging from the others. So we still have a long way to go.
Thank you, Dr. Nasser. Is branded sponsored content on an ad-free SVOD service an achievable way to revenues and subscription revenues? Kamil, what are your thoughts on that, please?
Of course, 100%, I agree with that. And that's what we're actually doing at the moment. So some of our content productions that we're developing, we have the interest from advertisers actually to come on board and participate actually in sponsoring the show in indirect way, for example, where like, I don't know, like the characters are speaking together and you could put an ad sponsorship to product, for example, to it. So that is really appealing. And at the same time, it's a premium, could be a premium content. So you could put it on the SVOD wall, or you could leave it at the AVOD wall. So you have the luxury actually to either wise. Besides to the content strategy in general, like to add a lot of content, like we are at Spacetune, for example, we're mainly focusing on the user experience itself. So we're always trying to develop and enhance our technologies and the features that we're giving our customers at the end, because content is one thing, but the smooth, the flexibility and the new innovative way that you're approaching the users, that's actually what could make them want to, for example, like I heard yesterday from one of great partners in the US who has a VOD platform. He said, like, when you force the user, when they stop forcing actually the user to switch their video from being directly to horizontal model, they increase their viewership 30% actually, because the user don't want anyone to force him anymore to do a specific move. So you want to screen it directly and you want to see it. So that kind of things, like you never know it until you A/B test it. So that's also like an added value, developing the user experience as well, would create a lot of attractiveness to the users.
Thank you, Kamil. We have another question from our audience members. It's on content security. Sarah, would I be able to ask you this? Are you in your role as content owners requiring the same security as defined by Movie Labs? Or what is your approach to protecting against piracy and removals, fraud, etc.? How is this different than traditional models?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, the content security has been a big issue in the region for quite some time, specifically with the, the piracy websites and the availability of a lot of the content that we do acquire that goes available. At this point, I think what we're doing is there's a lot of agreements as well with YouTube and other OTT platforms where we try to block and secure the content as much as we can. I know we do that on our one or the OTT platform. On a television basis, there has been discussions with the actual studios and the production houses to speak to the satellite agencies that have been, spreading these illegal channels, if you may, even on television or online, to minimize that. And there's been pressure put on specific mediums that I know of in specific countries to reduce the content piracy issues. So it is really an ongoing battle, but I think at the end of the day, our audience is savvy and smart enough, I would say, and I think it's intelligent enough to know the difference in quality, to know the difference between content that provides you with actual substance and quality versus something that is pirated. It's still a work in progress, specifically with a lot of the shows being on YouTube, but there's been agreements as well and discussions with them to try to minimize that.
Could I add a bit to Sarah,
Sure.
if you don't mind, Mona?
Yes, we're going to have to wrap up, I'm afraid, but please, if you can give us a...
Sarah has mentioned that, yes, we have developed a coalition, anti-piracy coalition in the Middle East, that we address all the satellite providers. But this is not enough because there are still lacks of regulations in the Middle East as well worldwide in terms of protecting the content owners. In terms of protection, in terms of piracy, there are digital marks that we put, watermarks and etc. And there's a whole team, digital team that goes into looking for a pirated content to go and block into servers and on. And this works as well for the whole coalitions, which is Dubai TV, Rotana, NBC, ART, OSN, and other TV channels all became on board as well with all the satellite operators on board. And it's ongoing progress. And we are much better than last year now.
Well, I hope you continue to face these challenges in the most positive way possible. I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to wrap this up. I mean, I could spend all day talking to you and asking you questions, but we do have some time constraints for our next panel discussions throughout the day. But thank you once again to Dr. Nasser Rafat, CTO of Rotana, Kamel Weiss, Strategic Business Development Director and General Manager of Spacetune Kids TV, and of course, Sarah Al-German, Director of General Channels, Dubai Media Incorporated. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your insight, and we look forward to having you on board, inshallah, sometime next year. Thank you so much.